Succession, one of the most popular television shows of the decade. If you haven't had the privilege of sitting down to watch it, I'll briefly break down the plot. The show follows the Roy family, owners of the media conglomerate Waystar Royco. The main premise of Succession is that the family patriarch, Logan Roy, is experiencing a decline in health, therefore he must choose a successor to his business before he dies. The main conflict of the story is that his 4 children, Connor, Kendall, Roman, and Shiv, are all extremely power-hungry and, to certain degrees, want to have some sort of control of the company, whether that be access to more money or full control over the company as CEO. Their desperation for prominence in Waystar Royco, along with the absurd external business affairs, is what makes Succession so compelling. Its gripping story and unparalleled acting has garnered the attention of many. Not only does the public love the series, but so do the critics. Since its debut in 2018, Succession has won 13 Emmys and 5 Golden Globe Awards. And with its 4th and final season currently airing, the series has gained an even larger following. Needless to say, the show has received lots of recognition in the past few years. As a huge fan of Succession myself, I really enjoy discussing the show with other enthusiasts. However, I found that the reason that most people love the show is because of the character dynamics and emotional appeal. I do agree that the relationships that each character has with one another is one of the best aspects of Succession. And honestly, I can admit that my favorite scenes from the show have definitely been the most heart-rending and emotionally stirring. However, I don't think that the show's depiction of modern-day media and economics is talked about nearly enough within the fanbase. And truly, I think that that's due to the public's sheer lack of knowledge on these subjects. I've seen a lot of discourse on social media like TikTok and Twitter about how when it comes to the actual business deals that they make in the show, a lot of what the characters are saying will just fly over people's heads. But in my opinion, these scenes are a huge reason why Succession was even made. Not only does it have a compelling storyline, but it also provides a lot of insight into the world of media. I believe that one of the reasons that the show was even created in the first place was to bring attention to how corporations run in today's day and age. In this video, I'd like to look at different scenes and plot lines from Succession and dissect them from a business point of view. I believe that by understanding the issues discussed in the show, more people can become informed on modern-day media matters and even make the change that they want to see based on their own judgment. The first thing about business that Succession has taught us about is company acquisitions. An acquisition is when a company purchases most of, if not all of, another company's shares in order to gain control of that company. When a company buys more than 50% of a target firm's stock, they can make decisions about the newly acquired assets without the consent of the other shareholders. A shareholder is a legal entity that owns shares of a public or private corporation. This can be seen as early as the first episode of the first season. Kendall Roy, the eldest son of Logan Roy's second marriage, is working to acquire another company, Vaulter. This would prove to be beneficial for Waystar Royco because Vaulter is a tech-focused media brand with a younger, more liberal audience. This would allow Waystar to expand its audience and stay relevant.
Okay. Listen, you know I love what you do, right? I mean, I'd love to keep you and your team in place, Lawrence. I think Vaulter is the shiz.
We're the shiz?
Yeah. What's it gonna take? You want me to send a vintage Jaguar over to your house today? I'll do it.
Sure, look, I just think bottom line, I can deliver a lot more value for our shareholders.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm right in the middle, Dad.
Did you close?
Yeah, it's okay. We're not quite closed. I'm going to 120.
If someone is at all knowledgeable about real-world media companies, they would recognize that this is a reference to when James Murdoch, the former chief executive of 21st Century Fox and son of Rupert Murdoch, bought a 10% stake in Vice Media, a media brand that focuses on millennials and entertainment. In fact, just by watching one episode, most can probably recognize that the entire show is based off of the Murdoch family who made 21st Century Fox. From the patriarchal family-run business structure, to the major scandals, to selling off the empire, the parallels between the Roys and the Murdochs are hard to ignore. For instance, in Season 3 of Succession, Logan Roy stood before a U.S. Senate subcommittee alongside his son Kendall to defend the ethical behavior of his media conglomerate after it became a part of a huge scandal. This is much like when in July of 2011, Rupert Murdoch stood before a UK Parliamentary Select Committee alongside his son James to defend the ethical behavior of his media conglomerate after it became part of a different huge scandal.
You know, I'm here in good faith today. I'm very willing to talk you, Senator, and this committee through our operation.
My comments, Mr. Chairman, and my statement, which I believe was around the closure of the News of the World newspaper.
Senators, when I read of the abuses of power alleged in my cruise division, well, that was the worst day of my life.
We get to that. I would just like to say one sentence. This is the most humble day of my life.
What did you personally know about the operation of a system of obfuscation of wrongdoing in your cruise division by means of the keeping of shadow log?
At that point, I believe my son was across that operationally.
Can I ask, in 2008, another 2 years, why did you not dismiss News of the World chief reporter Neville Thurlbeck following the Mosley case?
I'd never heard of him.
So none of your UK staff draw your attention to this serious wrongdoing, even though the case received widespread media attention?
I think my son can perhaps answer that in more detail. He was a lot closer to it.
As you can see, Succession takes a lot of inspiration from the real world, especially the Murdochs. Moving on to the second business lesson in Succession. In the realm of business, acquisitions are actually very common, although unlike Succession, most of these acquisitions happen between small to medium-sized enterprises. Acquiring a business may happen with the company's approval or, in a lot of cases, in spite of the company's disapproval. This brings us to the next business insight in Succession, the bear hug. A bear hug is a takeover strategy in which one company or a set of individuals offers a deal to acquire another company that is too good to turn down. The proposition is so rich that shareholders would be extremely upset if the board did not accept it. Just to clarify, a bear hug is prior to launching a hostile takeover bid against a company. Instead, the potential acquirer will send a letter offering a large enough sum of money to force the recipient to talk about selling. In the season 1 finale of Succession, Kendall gives an offer to buy Waystar at $140 per share in the form of a letter to his father at the wedding of his sister Shiv.
What is it?
It's a proposal to buy Waystar for $140 a share. We're asking you to come to the table, open the books.
Uh-huh.
It's great value for shareholders.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there it is. I'm not gonna get into feelings.
No.
Well, fine. We have the financing. Let's just see what everyone thinks. It's just the situation that has arisen, and you're very tough, and so am I. So I think this is just the way it has to be with us. I'm not sorry for what I'm doing, which is correct, but I'm sorry for how it makes you feel. And I'm sorry it had to be today. It was out of my hands. Here.
No.
It's definitely not common to deliver a bear hug in this type of setting. Normally, a letter like this would be sent to the board of directors at the corporate headquarters. Then, it's typical for the board of directors to be quickly informed about the situation and the legal and crisis communications team to come together so that they can work on forming a defense. The show doesn't say the total sum that Kendall is offering. However, it's pretty obvious that it's enough to cause havoc for Waystar Royco. An example of this in the real world is when Elon Musk bid around 38% more than what the open stock market was trading for Twitter. This is quite a considerable amount, and investors were very pleased with the prospect of a 38% premium. In Succession, Logan has the option to deny the bear hug, but there are also other options that the board can opt for. For instance, Jerry, the company's general counsel, brings up creating options for their poison pill defense.
I will have the options for our poison pill defense.
A poison pill is a defense strategy used by the directors of a public company to deter an acquisition like this by offering existing shareholders additional free or heavily discounted shares. The purpose of this is to dilute the shares so that possible acquirers can't gain control of the company through the means of purchasing shares. The other purpose of a poison pill is to make the buyout price much more expensive for the acquirer. In the same realm of business acquisitions are corporate mergers. This is when a company finds that it would be beneficial to combine business operations with another company with the end goal of increasing shareholder value as well as expanding into new areas of their existing market. Mergers and acquisitions share a lot of similarities, so in the world of business, they're often grouped together as M&A. Succession mostly focuses on merger of equals. In this case, the stockholders of each company become the holders of more than 40% of the outstanding common stock of the resulting merged entity. Mergers are often easy to spot because they'll have two individual company names merged together. Real-world examples of this include Daimler Chrysler and ExxonMobil. Although it's not explicitly mentioned in the show, the name Waystar Royco implies that there's been a large merger in the past. An attempted merger occurs in Season 3 when Logan approaches the tech company Gojo to acquire them. However, things change when the CEO of Gojo, Lucas Matson, wants to do a merger of equals. During the finale, Gojo's market cap actually overtakes Waystar's, and Matson offers to acquire it. This is a huge deal and the point of conflict in Season 4.
Go on. Talk to me.
I think we fit. Your company and mine. But you know, the street loves us. We're a strong buy. Maybe you're tired. So I make sense as the person to take over. Now, if that's an option, if that's something you would consider, then let's talk.
After looking at a few examples of business deals in succession, I think that it's important to discuss how this sheds light on actual media issues of the modern day. The biggest of which would be media oligopolization. Although that's not a very commonly used term, you can probably recognize its resemblance to monopolization, the act of gaining exclusive control of a market. Monopolies are illegal in trade and commerce, however, oligopolies are extremely prevalent. In the early 20th century, the media was owned by hundreds of different companies, but today, almost all of the media has consolidated to just 6 companies: National Amusement, Disney, Time Warner, Comcast, Sony, and News Corp, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch. Something that's discussed in Succession are the political implications of media conglomerates. Logan Roy depicts Rupert Murdoch, who is notoriously conservative. In the real world, particularly in the United States, the conservative political climate has favored deregulation of consolidation and, accordingly, M&A activity. In Season 2, as well as early Season 4, Logan attempts to acquire Pierce Global Media, which is a left-leaning media empire. Waystar Royco already owns ATN, another news company. Think of ATN as Succession's version of Fox News. By acquiring Pierce Global Media, Logan would control a large portion of what information is being spread through the news, therefore oligopolizing it. Mergers and acquisitions have raised numerous concerns among consumers and competitors alike, because deregulation has established a small collusive group of large providers that looks less and less like a competitive market every day. You may not think that this affects you. Maybe you believe that this is only impacting media companies. However, M&A affairs completely dictate what information you receive on a day-to-day basis. When you're watching the news, the opinions, commentary, and tone of the media is most likely controlled by one of these entities.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
use their platforms to push their own personal bias. And agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Even if you watch several different news channels and read from varying articles, there's a likely chance that all of that material came from the same source and is just posing as different companies. This is all done through media merging and acquiring, as seen in Succession. It can seem pretty daunting after learning about the issues that come with oligopolization. However, there are actions that you can take to become a more responsibly informed consumer. The biggest of which would be to invest your time into consuming local news. These companies don't answer to large corporations, so the information that they put out is much more reliable in the sense that it isn't swayed by a conglomerate. The other way to become a responsible consumer is to make an effort to learn about issues like this that are discussed in the series. You're watching this video right now, so that means that you're already taking steps to do so. If you found this at all interesting, then I highly suggest watching Succession yourself so that you can learn more about the world of business and form your own opinion on media consolidation.